I'd like to welcome you all to the 2018 Ward 1 All Candidates Debate.
John Rishworth, June Campbell, Donovan Cox, and Beth Thomas.
My name is Donovan Cox, and it's great to be here with you, with all our fellow residents, and to interact. My family moved to Oakville about 30 years ago, and we came to the Spears Road corridor where we built quite a thriving business in the aerospace community. And I learned a lot of tools about growth through that experience, which I took into down into the Caribbean and to South America on future projects. I have a background in growth, and that's the main issue that I'm being talked about from residents. So I disagree. I think business tools can be very helpful, and I apply these tools to turn complexity into performance. In my view, the Livable Oakville plan is a fantastic strategy. It's very innovative, and that to me is the target, making this the best place to live in Canada, and will continue to do so. But based on the voices of the community, I have an undergraduate degree in political philosophy and ethics, and I was saying to somebody the other day, when I'm canvassing and walking through the community, I hear the voices of Plato and Aristotle and John Stuart Mill, and they all talk about citizenry as the essential engine to a flourishing community. And so to me it's very important. Diverse points of view count, and the banging up of those points of view give birth to solutions. That's why I want to be town councilor. Thank you very much.
Can you outline your position on intensification and its effects on the area and livability? And do you agree or disagree with the Town Council's unanimous decision concerning 2220 Marine Drive, and why?
I think the intensification in this area is a problem because we see symptoms of a stressed infrastructure as this building marshals ahead. However, these are important projects. They themselves are businesses, and these aren't part of the businesses that we bring into the community. So, you know, there's a couple things going on here, but I think we're in a new time and a new phase of growth that perhaps we haven't seen in Oakville. These projects are underway. They've been planned. They've been approved. We have to support them. We have to do a better job of developing our infrastructure in advance of the building. I do support the town's decision to fight against 222 Marine Drive. The town follows a very specific process, and I have a lot of confidence and faith in it. You know, they spent a lot of time deliberating over this, and yes, I'm in agreement with it. Thank you.
How do you propose to increase both on-street and off-street parking in Bronte Village? How would you ensure that future development applications include adequate provisions for visitor parking and not contribute to the lack of parking in the area? And 3, how would you address traffic congestions on main roads and speeding on side streets, especially near school zones and senior living areas?
There is an option to park on one side of the street, shift it halfway through the month to the other side of the street. But that type of parking also increases safety issues. It's difficult for the driver to see people jumping out between cars. So there's, you know, that's a solution. There are other possibilities. There are all kinds of possibilities as far as controlling parking goes. There is metering, but there's not a desire for metering in the area. What I believe we should do is we should look at other jurisdictions who have been in a similar problem. We should look at other models, and we should borrow from their models who have found real solutions. We should do it, and it doesn't take long to do a study, but we should do a formal study on this. Right now there's just ideas coming from the community, but kind of loose ideas. We need a formal study. We need to get to the bottom of this problem. Future development applications have to include suitable parking. Amica did not have suitable parking in its development. The new Bronte Village Mall doesn't have adequate parking to support its building. We have to have adequate parking for these facilities, including adequate visitor parking.
Are you in favor of marijuana retail stores in Oakville?
I was trying to understand marijuana early on because, it's a complex matter. It affects more areas in the municipality than we might think. What I did, I went to a conference on this and I met with people from Denver, where it's been, Colorado, it's been legal in Colorado for 5 years. I wanted to understand their experiences, what they did right, what they did wrong, how it affected their community. I'm a big believer in looking at other jurisdictions to find out models of how we might do things and implement it into our own community. I also met with Canadian policymakers, federal policymakers, to understand what they're thinking, and people from the community from Toronto, licensing, government folks. My assessment, we're kind of doing a trial and error thing. We're not really ready for it. It's going to be, okay, we'll kind of see how it goes. And my feeling on it, because I have kids in high school, I'm concerned with it being misused by young kids in particular. My feeling on it is we shouldn't experiment with our community. We might consider opting out just for a brief period to see how it's implemented in Toronto and wait till licensing has been put in place and see how policies are shaped. And then we can adapt, see what goes on, and bring it into our own community. I mean, anybody can order it online as of October 17th anyways. It's not going to affect the recreational users per se, and it's available medically. What we're talking about is not necessarily having it on the ground sold in retail stores until we know what's going on. I've lived in Oakville for a long time and worked in the industry. In recent years, my wife decided to start a new career. I had the job of staying home and raising the kids, and a big part of that's what brought me into the community. As you all know, when you have kids, you get involved. A statistic I learned along the way that was very important, and I tested it out, and that was 95% of our community feel a sense of belonging and feel very safe. And, I've worked throughout the world, and that statistic just doesn't happen. I live at the Glendella Cottage, just at the foot, just off Bronte Marina, at the foot of Bronte Road. It's a 200-year-old house, and I've learned about the history. Boy, we have a wonderful history. But one thing you see very clearly going back a couple hundred years is a town is always in growth. It's always in growth, and here we are at a different phase. But we're not, we're not really stressed. As I say, you don't get that 95% statistic when things are out of control. You just don't get it. We're very much in control, and we're fiscally strong. So we can do a lot together to develop the community. And that's what I'm looking forward to as your new town councilor, interacting with you and bringing your voice to City Hall, to Town Hall, to make your voice heard. Thank you.
Thank you.